If you are doing everything for her, if you are sacrificing your time, your money, your goals, and still feel unappreciated, listen carefully. There are 5 things men think are love, but they destroy attraction. They kill respect, and they make you weak in her eyes. If you don't stop, you will regret it. Comment, "I reclaim my power," if you're ready to watch this video till the end. Number 1. Abandon your purpose. When you abandon your purpose, you slowly erase your identity, and you know exactly how it happens because it does not collapse in one dramatic moment. It happens in small daily compromises, where you cancel your training session because she wants attention right now, where you delay your business idea because she says you are too focused on work, where you stop reading and improving because keeping her entertained becomes your full-time job, and you tell yourself this is love. But deep down, you know you are drifting away from the man you promised yourself you would become, and you start waking up later. You stop tracking your goals, your discipline weakens, your body softens, your mind becomes reactive instead of sharp. And she watches this shift in real time because attraction is tied to direction, and direction disappears when your entire emotional world depends on her approval. And you notice she tests you more, she questions you more, she respects you less, not because she is evil, but because you removed the very structure that made you grounded and strong. And now you are orbiting around her, waiting for signals instead of building something meaningful. And you sense the frustration building inside you because you are giving up your future for temporary comfort. And comfort becomes the trap that keeps you small. And you start resenting her quietly while pretending everything is fine, and that resentment grows because you know the truth. You are betraying yourself. And Stoic discipline teaches that your life must be guided by principles, not impulses. And right now your impulse is to avoid discomfort and conflict, but growth requires discomfort. It requires you to choose your mission even when someone tries to pull you away from it. And you must understand that a partner who truly values you will respect your structure. And if someone tries to compete with your purpose, they are competing with your identity. And you cannot allow that, because when you lose your mission, you lose the foundation that makes you stable. And you begin to negotiate your standards to keep peace, and that peace costs you your ambition. And you are not designed to shrink your potential for anyone. And you see it clearly when you look at your routine, because your schedule exposes your priorities. And if your calendar shows endless emotional management but zero progress on your goals, then you are operating from fear, not strength. And you can reverse this immediately by writing down your long-term objective in one clear sentence, and then breaking it into weekly measurable actions, and protecting those actions as non-negotiable blocks of time, where your phone stays off and your focus stays sharp. And you inform rather than ask, because a person with direction does not seek permission to improve. And when she complains that you are distant, you calmly explain that building your life is not neglect, it is responsibility. And if she cannot accept that, then you are witnessing a sign that she benefits from your stagnation. And that is a truth many avoid. But you cannot afford to avoid it, because every year you delay your growth compounds into regret, and regret becomes heavier with time. And you must choose now whether you are building a legacy or performing for validation. And once you realign with purpose, you notice something powerful. Your posture changes, your words become fewer but clearer. Your reactions slow down because your emotional state is no longer dependent on her mood, and you regain internal authority. And internal authority is attractive because it signals stability and self-trust. And self-trust comes from keeping promises to yourself daily, even when it is inconvenient. And that is how you transform this situation, because instead of arguing about attention, you become so focused on progress that your energy shifts. and people respond differently to someone who is advancing in life. And if she leaves because you refuse to abandon your mission, then she was attached to your availability, not your character. And losing that is not a loss, it is a filter. And filters protect your future. And your conscience already knows this, because every time you sacrifice your purpose, you sense the cost, and that cost is your self-respect. And self-respect, once rebuilt, becomes the strongest foundation for any relationship, and it starts with one decision. Today, you choose growth over comfort. You choose discipline over approval. You choose direction over desperation. And that single shift begins the transformation that changes your entire life trajectory. And if you are ready to lock that shift into your daily life, then the Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men was created for this exact moment because it is filled with timeless Stoic principles and practical structures that show you exactly how to rebuild discipline, reclaim authority, and lead your relationships from strength instead of fear. It breaks down the habits, the mindset corrections, and the daily standards that separate a distracted life from a directed one, so you stop drifting and start deciding. It is now available in audiobook version, which means you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while walking alone at sunrise, jogging through the park, driving to work, or training in the gym, turning idle time into personal elevation. Ask yourself how different your life would look 6 months from now if every day you reinforced purpose instead of abandoning it, and how much regret you avoid by acting now instead of later. Once you own it, it is yours permanently, always accessible whenever you need clarity or correction, and the link is in the comments waiting for the decision that future you will thank you for. Number 2, beg for attention. When you beg for attention, you place your entire sense of worth into someone else's hands, and you shrink yourself in real time because every unanswered message becomes a threat to your identity, and every delayed reply turns into anxiety that controls your thoughts, and you start checking your phone every few minutes, wondering why she is active but not responding to you, and your focus disappears, and your productivity drops, and your mood depends on notifications. And this pattern quietly destroys your stability, because instead of operating from self-control, you operate from emotional hunger. And hunger makes you impulsive, and impulsive behavior lowers your value instantly. And she senses it immediately, because desperation changes your tone, your timing, your posture, your decisions. And you begin over-explaining simple statements and apologizing for things that require no apology, and sending extra messages to regain connection, and asking if everything is okay when nothing happened. And this constant seeking signals that you believe her attention is scarce. And when you treat attention as scarce, you communicate that you have no other options. And attraction weakens because people are drawn to those who are steady, not those who panic. And Stoic discipline demands that you separate what is within your control from what is outside it. And her response speed is outside your control, but your reaction is fully yours. And mastering that reaction is the difference between strength and dependency. And when you train yourself to pause instead of react, you reclaim authority over your emotional state. And that authority changes how you move through life, because now when a message goes unanswered, you continue your work, you continue your training, you continue your schedule without interruption. And this creates internal power, because your routine is no longer controlled by someone else's behavior. And this shift forces you to confront a hard truth, which is that you fear being alone more than you fear losing respect for yourself. And that fear pushes you to chase reassurance instead of building resilience. And chasing reassurance becomes addictive, because short moments of attention provide temporary relief, but temporary relief reinforces long-term weakness. And the solution begins with discipline in communication, where you send one message clearly and then return to your priorities without waiting anxiously. And if she replies hours later, you respond calmly without referencing the delay. And if she consistently ignores effort, you reduce your investment instead of increasing it, because effort must be matched, not negotiated. And if she tests your availability by withdrawing contact, you remain composed and focused, because your life is structured around growth, not validation. And this approach is controversial because it rejects the narrative that love requires constant reassurance. But love built on reassurance collapses under pressure, while love built on mutual respect thrives. And respect begins with self-containment, and self-containment means you do not overshare vulnerability to secure attention, and you do not chase conversations that are one-sided, and you do not measure your worth through how quickly someone responds. And to apply this practically, you limit your digital exposure by checking messages at set intervals rather than continuously. You turn off unnecessary notifications. You schedule focused work sessions where communication is paused, and you fill your day with meaningful tasks that develop skills, health, and income, so your mind is occupied with progress rather than waiting. And when you redirect your attention towards self-improvement, you become less reactive and more selective. And selective behavior increases perceived value because scarcity is created by self-control, not manipulation. And this forces you to evaluate your standards, because if someone only responds when it suits them and expects you to be available instantly, that imbalance reveals a lack of consideration. And continuing to chase in that dynamic trains them to prioritize themselves over you. And your silence, combined with consistency, communicates more strength than emotional speeches ever could. And over time you build emotional independence, where your happiness is not tied to someone else's validation. And emotional independence transforms your presence, because now when you interact, you do so from abundance rather than need. And abundance attracts because it signals security and stability. And this transformation requires confronting uncomfortable moments where you resist the urge to reach out and instead sit with your thoughts and channel that energy into discipline. And that discipline becomes identity, and identity becomes power. And once you internalize that attention is optional, but self-respect is mandatory, your entire dynamic changes, because you no longer compete for space in someone's life. You create your own and invite others to join it without surrendering control. And this mindset protects you from manipulation and from self-sabotage and from cycles of anxiety that drain your strength. And when you stop begging for attention, you stop broadcasting insecurity, and you start embodying calm confidence that stands firm, regardless of who texts back or who withdraws, because your focus returns to building a life that commands respect rather than requesting it. And that shift alone begins to change every relationship you enter moving forward. Number 3. Tolerate disrespect. The moment you tolerate disrespect, you sign a contract that says this is acceptable, and that contract rewrites your position in the relationship without any formal discussion. Because every sarcastic comment at your expense, every eye roll during serious conversations, every comparison to another person, every public joke that lowers your value chips away at your authority. And you stand there forcing a smile, pretending it does not bother you, while something inside tightens, and you replay the scene later, questioning why you stayed quiet. And this pattern repeats because you fear that speaking up will cause distance or conflict, and that fear trains you to prioritize comfort over dignity. And once dignity becomes negotiable, respect disappears. And without respect, affection eventually fades, because attraction without respect cannot sustain itself. And you start adjusting your behavior to avoid triggering more comments, and you shrink your personality, you soften your opinions, you censor your ambitions. And all of this happens gradually until you barely recognize the confident version of yourself that once had clear standards and boundaries. And the hard truth is that no one accidentally disrespects repeatedly. They test limits consciously or unconsciously, and if the boundary is not reinforced, the behavior escalates. And this is where Stoic discipline becomes essential, because you cannot control another person's tone, but you control your response. And your response must be grounded, calm, and firm, rather than emotional or reactive. And instead of raising your voice, you slow it down. Instead of insulting back, you make a direct statement such as that comment is not acceptable. And you hold eye contact and allow silence to carry weight without over-explaining. Because over-explaining signals doubt, and doubt weakens your stance. And if the behavior continues after clear communication, you create distance through action, not threats. And distance is powerful because it demonstrates that access to you requires respect. And if someone reacts with anger or mockery when confronted calmly, that reaction exposes their character, not yours. And you must internalize that staying in an environment where you are repeatedly diminished damages your self-concept. And your self-concept shapes every decision you make, from career choices to friendships to long-term partnerships. And this is why tolerating small acts of disrespect leads to larger compromises later. Because once you accept minor humiliation, you condition yourself to accept greater ones. And you start rationalizing behavior that once would have been unacceptable, telling yourself it is not a big deal or that you are being too sensitive, while your confidence erodes quietly. And the transformation begins by strengthening your internal code, which means writing down what behaviors violate your values and committing to address them immediately without hesitation. And practicing calm confrontation in low-stakes situations to build courage, such as correcting a dismissive remark from a colleague or declining an unfair request without apology. And each small act of self-assertion builds psychological resilience. And that resilience reduces fear of loss, because you understand that losing someone who refuses to respect you is protection, not punishment. And controversial as it sounds, maintaining standards may lead to some people leaving your life. But those who remain will treat you differently because you communicate that your presence is conditional upon mutual regard. And this mindset shift moves you from approval-seeking to self-governed. And self-governed individuals radiate steadiness because their identity is not shaped by external validation. And this steadiness changes the dynamic because people adapt their behavior to those who demonstrate consistent boundaries. And if someone repeatedly violates your expressed limits and shows no intention to adjust, then walking away becomes an act of integrity rather than weakness. And integrity strengthens your posture, your speech, your decisions. And over time, your tolerance for nonsense decreases because you recognize that peace built on self-betrayal is not peace, it is suppression. And suppression eventually turns into resentment, and resentment poisons connection. So by choosing firmness early, you prevent long-term bitterness, and you reclaim control over your environment. And once you practice this consistently, you notice a powerful shift in how you carry yourself, because you are no longer silently absorbing disrespect. You are filtering it out. And this filtering mechanism elevates every aspect of your life, from romantic partnerships to professional relationships, and it begins with a single decision that your dignity is non-negotiable. And that decision changes everything moving forward, because you start selecting environments and people aligned with your standards rather than adapting yourself to be tolerated. And that is the turning point where confidence stops being a performance and becomes a natural state rooted in disciplined self-respect. Number 4. Overfinance. Her lifestyle. Overfinancing her lifestyle places you in a position where your value becomes attached to your wallet rather than your character. And this shift happens quietly because at first it looks generous and responsible and admirable, and you convince yourself that paying for everything proves commitment and maturity. But beneath that surface there is often a hidden motive, which is fear of losing her to someone with more resources. And that fear drives you to spend beyond comfort and sometimes beyond logic, because you believe financial sacrifice secures emotional loyalty. And you begin covering dinners, vacations, bills, subscriptions, gifts and emergencies while telling yourself it is temporary. Yet the pattern stabilizes and expectations rise and appreciation decreases. And now you are trapped in a cycle where your presence is associated with provision, and the moment you reduce spending, tension appears, and you sense that your importance declines when your financial output declines. And that realization is painful because it forces you to confront the possibility that the bond is conditional. And conditional attachment built on material support cannot produce lasting respect. And Stoic reasoning requires that you detach your identity from external displays and anchor it in internal discipline and prudence. And prudence means evaluating every expense through the lens of long-term stability rather than short-term approval. And if you examine your bank statements honestly, you may notice purchases that exist purely to avoid conflict or gain validation. And this pattern drains not only your savings, but also your sense of autonomy, because now you feel obligated to maintain a certain lifestyle to keep harmony. And harmony purchased through pressure is not genuine harmony. It is dependence disguised as generosity. And the transformation begins by redefining provision as responsible leadership over your own resources first, which means building emergency funds, investing in skills, diversifying income streams, and tracking spending meticulously, and creating a clear budget where discretionary spending is intentional rather than reactive. And once you operate from structure rather than impulse, you reduce anxiety around money because you are no longer stretching yourself thin for temporary praise. And controversial as it sounds, if someone distances themselves when financial intensity decreases, that reaction reveals priorities clearly. And clarity protects you from long-term exploitation. And instead of increasing spending to fix distance, you observe calmly and continue strengthening your foundation. Because emotional stability comes from knowing that your security does not rely on anyone's approval. And this mindset also changes how you present generosity, because now it is selective, thoughtful, and sustainable rather than excessive and desperate. And you understand that partnership requires contribution from both sides in different forms, whether emotional, intellectual, practical, or financial. And if the flow is consistently one-directional, imbalance forms, and imbalance breeds resentment, and resentment corrodes connection over time. And practical steps include setting financial boundaries early, such as alternating expenses or defining shared responsibilities, and communicating expectations clearly without apology, and resisting the urge to upgrade lifestyle prematurely, and delaying large gifts until commitment and reciprocity are established. And by doing this, you test alignment through behavior rather than promises. And this approach filters out those attracted primarily to comfort and retains those who value character and discipline. And as your savings grow and investments compound, your confidence rises, because financial independence reduces tolerance for manipulation. And you stop negotiating your peace for luxury appearances, and you stop measuring worth through spending capacity, and you start measuring it through self-command and foresight. And foresight is powerful because it protects future stability. And when you operate from foresight, you no longer chase validation through transactions. You create value through competence and reliability. And this shift alters the dynamic entirely, because now your presence is defined by steadiness and strategic thinking rather than constant provision. And those who remain in your life under these conditions are aligned with your principles, not just your resources. And that alignment forms a healthier base for any relationship. And by mastering financial restraint, you demonstrate that generosity is a choice, not a necessity. And that choice is respected because it signals abundance controlled by wisdom rather than insecurity driven by fear. And once this lesson integrates fully, your posture changes, your decisions sharpen, and your life trajectory strengthens because you are no longer financing approval. You are investing in your long-term sovereignty. And that sovereignty transforms not only your relationships, but your entire approach to growth and stability moving forward. Number 5, lose your standards. Boundaries define your identity, and when you lose your standards, you dissolve into whatever keeps someone from leaving. And that erosion begins subtly because you tell yourself compromise is maturity and patience is strength. Yet what you are actually practicing is self-abandonment. And each time you ignore a lie, excuse inconsistency, tolerate emotional volatility, or accept behavior that contradicts your values, you teach yourself that connection is more important than integrity, and that lesson rewires your self-image, because now your worth depends on maintaining access rather than honoring principles. And you start rationalizing red flags by blaming stress or past trauma or misunderstandings, while your internal voice grows quieter. And you notice that you hesitate to express disagreement because you fear conflict will push them away, and that fear becomes the leash guiding your decisions. And once fear guides you, standards disappear. And without standards, you cannot evaluate compatibility clearly because you are too busy preserving attachment. And this is where disciplined thinking becomes critical, because disciplined thinking forces you to assess behavior objectively rather than emotionally. And objectivity requires asking simple, direct questions, such as, does this align with my values? Does this person demonstrate consistency? Do actions match words? And if the answer repeatedly contradicts your expectations, then the conclusion is clear, regardless of how strong attraction appears. And controversial as it sounds, chemistry without character creates long-term damage because intensity can mask instability, and instability drains energy and clouds judgment. And when you stay in that environment, you adapt to chaos rather than building peace. And adaptation to chaos becomes your normal state. And once chaos feels normal, you struggle to recognize healthy dynamics later. And that is why losing standards harms not only the current relationship, but future ones as well. And to reverse this pattern, you begin by defining non-negotiables in writing, such as honesty, mutual effort, accountability, emotional maturity, and respect. And you commit to enforcing them immediately rather than waiting for repeated violations. And enforcement does not require aggression. It requires clarity and action, which means if dishonesty appears, you address it once calmly. And if it repeats, you distance yourself without drama. And this action-based response communicates strength because it shows that your time and energy are limited resources and access requires alignment. And when someone reacts negatively to clear boundaries, that reaction exposes incompatibility rather than proving your harshness. And understanding this prevents guilt from weakening your resolve, because guilt often pressures you to lower expectations in order to maintain connection. And that pressure must be resisted through self-command. And self-command grows through daily practices, such as setting goals and completing them, controlling impulses in small matters like diet and sleep, and strengthening physical health, because discipline in one area reinforces discipline in all others. And as your internal structure strengthens, Your tolerance for inconsistency decreases naturally, and you no longer chase potential, you evaluate patterns, and patterns reveal truth faster than promises. And once you operate from this framework, you experience a shift in confidence because your security is rooted in adherence to your code rather than external approval. And this security makes you less reactive during conflict because you understand that disagreement does not threaten your identity. And if someone chooses to leave because you refuse to lower standards, that departure becomes evidence that alignment was never present. And this perspective transforms perceived loss into protection. And protection preserves your long-term stability. And as months pass under this new approach, you attract interactions based on mutual respect rather than convenience. And your conversations become clearer, your decisions quicker, and your emotional state steadier because you are no longer negotiating core values for temporary comfort. And this steadiness influences every aspect of your life, from career choices to social circles, because once you demand consistency in one area, you expect it everywhere. And that expectation elevates your environment. And elevating your environment accelerates growth. And growth reinforces self-respect, creating a positive cycle that replaces previous patterns of compromise and anxiety. And through this transformation, you reclaim authority over your direction, and relationships become a complement to your mission rather than the center of it. And by guarding your standards firmly yet calmly, you demonstrate that connection is a privilege, not an entitlement. And that principle alone reshapes how others approach you, and ultimately reshapes how you approach yourself, because you begin living in alignment with your highest values instead of shrinking to maintain approval. And that alignment is the foundation of a stable, powerful, and self-governed life. This is the moment you either continue repeating the same mistakes or you rise, take control, and rebuild your life with discipline, clarity, and standards that no one can shake. If you are ready to stop negotiating your worth and start living with structure and authority, comment "unshakable" and make that decision public. The Stoic Relationship Blueprint ebook for men is filled with timeless Stoic principles that will transform your life immediately, and society does not benefit from you mastering yourself, which is exactly why most never learn this. It is now available in audiobook version, so you can absorb this life-changing knowledge while walking alone, jogging at sunrise, driving or training, turning every spare moment into personal power. And it is linked in the comments. Like this video and subscribe so more men find these truths and save themselves years of regret. Because once you own this knowledge, it is yours forever. And the only question left is whether you are ready to step into the man you are meant to become.